来到 CCTV 环球频道巴黎站，相信大家听到巴厘岛呢，已经不是一个陌生的名字了。在太平洋上呢，坐落这个璀璨的明珠呢，有着浓郁的异国风情，每一年啊，都吸引着来自于全世界各地的游客蜂拥而至，享受这里的美食、沙滩，还有诱人的风景。如果大家看过电影《Eat, Pray, Love》，可以看到女主人公最终在巴厘岛找着了内心真实的自己。那其实巴厘岛呢，不仅有诱人的风景，更加有很多其他的机会在等着你。比如说，来这里做过生意，有没有想过呢？开一家异国风情的餐厅，或者一家别具风格的咖啡网吧，或者呢，做一名自由摄影师，这里有万千种的可能。更有没有想过开一家自己面朝大海的瑜伽馆呢？在1个多月的环球之旅当中呢，虽然很多站都停留在亚洲，但是在亚洲啊，在巴厘岛对我来说，其实是一段非常难忘的回忆。那其实很多时候呢，为什么去旅行？大多数都有人说心在路上，心在路上对我来说是更多是自我发现、聆听内心声音的一个旅程。那这次在巴厘岛呢，通过朋友介绍参加了一个瑜伽和冲浪营。那其实这个营对我来说呢，更加是一个挑战自己，不断去探索自己真正想要什么的过程。那在这过程当中呢，我很有幸的结识2位非常好的女性朋友。那么她们对于我来说呢，有着非常鼓舞和激励人心的故事。那今天呢，我在这里呢，就对他们做了实地采访，把他们亲身的经历镜头告诉你。
So here I'm with Beverly. I'm just very curious about personal life, right? Because we're all talking about the journey of discovering yourself and looking into your purpose. So I want to hear from you. So how does it started? But you working for corporate before you moved here, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I moved here from Los Angeles. I was born and raised in Singapore, and then I went to California, San Francisco for a few years, then Los Angeles to study for college, and then I worked for a few years in media sales. After that, when I was turning 25, I moved to Shanghai to begin my corporate career in property and retail real estate. And it was the beginning. At that period of time, I was very driven. Like all I cared about was climbing the corporate ladder and making a name for myself, proving to everybody that I'm capable and successful. So from moving to Shanghai, which was booming and an exciting place, was the perfect place for that. I got a big role taking care of the Asia Pacific market for a fashion brand, opening stores. And I was doing quite well on track in the corporate ladder, but I started to have a lot of questions like, is this what I want to do? I feel empty. You know, I don't really care about the money anymore. I want to spend my life living like this at 40. This is just feeling empty and just making money and traveling. I did a lot of business travel, and I had no energy from my family and friends.
Okay.
And thinking like, it doesn't matter how high I climb or how much bonuses I get. If I'm 40, like I have no relationships with the people that I care about. And
so you sound like a workaholic.
Yeah.
Of typical.
Very driven at that point.
Okay.
You know? And then when I was turning 29, you know, I had I went through a breakup, and then I was so burned out with business travel and this corporate job that I suddenly quit the job. So all these few years I had been building my resume and like all this what I wanted to do. So quitting that job suddenly was quite a drastic step in that.
And why quit suddenly?
I just felt like I couldn't stand it anymore. Like I felt 4 years of me, you know, when I quit a job, then the relationship would suffer because there's a lot of anger and like frustration. And then I'll end the relationship. Then in this next 6 months, I'll climb back again, get another good corporate job, and then get into another seemingly happy relationship, and then quit again, and then go down into depression. And so that happened constantly. Like it was a 6-month cycle, up and down for about 4 years.
4 years.
And by the 4th year, I just kind of lost hope. I was just like, maybe I'm just a jaded person, and this is the rest of my life. Like, this is me. I'm a depressed adult, you know.
Well, I'm sure a lot of people have been there before.
Yeah, and I think what made me super depressed at the 4th year, I gave up on myself because I was just thinking, every year it's the same cycle. I can't seem to change it, and every year it doesn't matter how much I build something beautiful, I would destroy it. Building something that it's not what my soul wanted. It's what I thought looked good to everybody else, and I wanted to impress. Yeah, I wanted to impress people. I wanted to prove myself. But I think my subconscious had enough of it, so I couldn't control it. I just within 3 to maximum 6 months, I'll quit the job and I'll quit the relationship, and I'll just like get depressed, you know. So it was on the 4th year that I just gave up hope. I was just like, I can't fight like this. I can't do this anymore. Like,
I'm totally
calling.
understand.
And so I stopped going out. I was avoiding everybody I knew. I didn't leave my complex for about 3 weeks.
Kind of like escaping from.
Yeah, I was just like, just stayed at home, didn't want to get out of bed, like sleeping till 4 until the sun was setting, so I don't have to go and meet people. It was and I gained 7 kilos. I stopped exercising every day.
Well, 7 kilos is nothing.
Yeah, but it's a lot for a small girl like me. It's
Okay,
like
alright.
I'm 40 something kilos. So it's almost 10%. That I was self-destructive because I was giving up hope in myself, and then finally I saw how much that was affecting my parents and my family. That I decided that was enough, and I enrolled myself in a teacher training in Bali because I, 1-month training. That's where I met Marina, my business partner, and I just knew that yoga would help me gain balance. And it was really within that 1 month that I felt alive, and I felt I felt that life that had been gone for so long. And then I felt like this is what I want to do. I want to be around nature. I want to have yoga in my life. I want to be healthy. And so then I stayed on for 2 more years to continue to study and teach yoga. And then that led to this retreat happening.
So, thank you for giving us a complete picture. Let's get started. Here we with Nina, which is another co-founder of Low Tide Yoga. So Nina's story is quite different. She's already an established woman. So she's a travel writer and also a photographer. So I know a lot of us, trying to be either fashion designer or a photographer, it sounds so cool. We just don't know where to start. So I'm really curious about Nina. So how did you start this kind of like travel writer sort of life? And where did you start? And do you study travel blogging or?
I studied a long time ago, and I studied journalism.
Oh.
So I started out working in a newspaper and moved on to working in magazines in about 1999. But
I wouldn't tell people how old you are.
it was a long time ago.
Okay.
But basically, I got a lucky break when I was working in London and became the travel editor of a magazine there.
I see.
And after working in travel magazines in London and in South Africa for a long time, I realized that I wasn't living a life that was true to myself. I felt very tied down to where I was, to working in an office.
Where you're so
living behind
trapped.
walls. It took a long time, but it was actually starting to practice yoga that made me realize I wasn't being true to myself and I wasn't being honest with myself.
I see.
And I needed to set myself free from all the boundaries that I had and everything that tied me down. And that was how life on the road came about, really.
I see.
And so after working in magazines for a long time, working full-time in magazines for a long time, I had built up enough relationships and connections to work freelance.
Yes.
So, and to be able to go back to my travel writing roots, which is what I really wanted and had always kind of been wanting to do. So it was kind of, it was a career of learning and then kind of taking the next step after all the learning had been done.
That sounds like a so interesting story, because I know you've been writing about women, like inspiring women. You write a lot about them. So we sort of see a pattern for a lot of women entrepreneurs. They sort of try to figure out where to belong. They go into this depression. They're so trapped. Then suddenly they go somewhere. Start a journey of exploring where it belongs to. So, and for all the stories you have read, and do you think that's a common pattern for a lot of women, or do you think some people, they were just born with to know where they're going?
I could talk to you for ages and ages about that. But I think that people are starting to become more aware of how they can be more true to themselves and
awareness.
Absolutely, and we're living in a time now where it's becoming okay to be yourself, and it's becoming okay to challenge the conventional notions of what you're supposed to do. So
definitely.
For our parents, it was you had to get married, have kids, have a
yes,
job.
absolutely.
And there's so many people who are, for who that's changing, and people are becoming brave enough to challenge and to take the next step and to kind of go, well, that's not the life that's okay for me.
Yes.
And yeah, I think it's becoming more and more common, and I'm seeing more and more women who are doing that. But there are some who are able to take that step, and others
Brave enough.
who wish they could but haven't yet found the right time. I believe there's a right time for everything, and you know when that right time comes for you to take that next step.
You know, in China, we have this old saying, we say for any wonderful things to happen requires 3 elements. It's got timing, location, and right person. So I believe this wonderful retreat, it means a lot to you, and I see this wonderful 3 elements working together at the same time. Same. So Mark, as you know, your lifestyle is really somebody's dreaming of for, you know, people working in the cities. How could you make it happen? I mean, how did you do it?
I work for I'm freelance. I work for magazines more than blogging, actually.
Yes.
And I started off as a book writer.
A book writer.
I was a backpacker, and I was sort of bumming around the world backpacking.
Great.
Did an expedition in Borneo and wrote a book about it.
Uh-huh.
And the book wasn't a huge success, but I guess it got editors to be interested, you know.
Okay.
And that was what got me into magazines.
Okay. So how, I mean, and can you just tell me like a bit about yourself before you become this kind of like, you know, like a dreamer for life, traveling around, and what do you do before?
I was just backpacking for years.
Just backpacking for years.
Backpacking and working casual jobs just to make enough money to hit the road for another 6 months.
And can you just tell us a little bit about your lifestyle right now?
Well, now we've moved and we're living in West Bali most of the time. This is our base for most of the year anyway. And between living here, head off on short assignments for different magazines in different areas.
And do you move a lot, or most of the time you stay in Bali?
A lot, more than we really like to. We love being here. We probably like to stay here a lot longer.
Yes.
And, yeah, we hit the road probably for 4 or 5 months of each year.
Really? And where do you?
Sometimes a little bit in Europe, but mostly Africa, around Asia.
Really?
Yeah,
That
Latin
sounds so
America.
cool.
Feel Latin American calling.
My ground, and I won't back down. Hey, baby, there ain't no easy way out. Hey, I will stand my ground.